Welcome, everyone. Happy Friday. Friday. Hello. Bro, your handle, the Happy Jutalian, is truly one of my favorites, if not my favorite. The Happy Jutalian. It's amazing. How you doing, brother? Good to see you. Okay. All right. What up, Guru? How you doing, brother? We will wait a second for a few people to trickle in before we fully begin with this lively Friday live. I saw this guy on TikTok. Uh, some of you on TikTok probably know him because he has an enormous following. Apparently, the guy that does he's from the past, and he talks to people like to the future. Jose, how are you, brother? So good to see you, my brother. Yes, how you doing, man? Thank you for the roses. Congratulations to us for the first official transaction for Code of Reality with a donor, official donor, I guess. And we partnered up with Jose's nonprofit to be our fiduciary liaisons until we get our own 501c3. So I appreciate that. Callie's in the house, baby. What up, Jackie? Jackie, you're far away, right? You're Australia or New Zealand? I think Australia, correct? How are you? So yeah, we're slowly getting to a place where, you know, finally there's some movement. I mean, we had, money flowing through before, but never like officially through the already existing organization, which is amazing. Australia, dope. One place I really wanted to go and couldn't go on our world trip. I'm sure that we'll go at some point. So anyway, this guy on TikTok is basically kind of like all in black and white and talking like back in the day. See, man, really cool. I thought it was very, very cozy. What up, Rolly? Back at you, Jose. Uh, did everything go well? Was everything sent? Getting into the Halloween spirit. Beautiful. What up, Arof? That would be cool for you to visit in the future. I will. I will. You guys are already in the future. How often do you guys hear this as a joke, right? Like, I think probably Australians at this point has a special eye roll for this joke. How is it in the future? You guys probably have a special word for this nonsense. What up, Ghost? Good to see you, my brother. Oh yeah, that reminds me. Let's start the group on Discord. So if Ghost wants to come on and chat, he can. Would be great to see you. Today the pace is a bit lower pace, but we can discuss some stuff. It can be fun. Check out our website, codeofreality.com. Kenny is also Australian. Welcome, Kenny. It's actually a pretty good time match because for you guys, it's basically the beginning of the day every time I start streaming, or already almost noon, right? Thank you, Guru. I appreciate you, brother. Okay. So, like I said, I'm slowly starting to look for new ways to run these lives to keep it interesting. Thank you, Eden. I appreciate the commentary. That's Eden, everybody. What you're saying is very important. Oh, Ghost shared some fun stuff I see on the chat. I'm the only human because this ain't Vegas. That's hilarious. And if you guys want to come on and chat, raise your hand, please. Let me know. What up, Brandon from Mexico? Okay, I think we can officially start. Project Veilbreak is in the house. Yeah. What up, Carter? Project Veilbreak is our technical project, and it's in the house, and that's wonderful. Oh yeah, 11:35 a.m. Yeah, almost noon. See, kind of know these things. I'm actually surprised that I kind of nailed it. I had no idea. What up, Traditional? Thank you so much for the roses. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. That's very kind of you. Traditional nutrients. Took me a second. Do you guys have any questions to kick off this chat? Damien, how are you? So, anyways, I thought it was really cool. I'm not very aware of what's going on TikTok, to be quite honest. I feel I'm very not TikTok savvy. I mean, I have an account and we stream through it and I post videos sometimes. But I do enjoy once in a while to watch how creative people get, and that is fun. Carter is saying doing great. Testing the new experiment interface. Looking forward to it going full public. Same here, brother. Did you end up doing the 5, Carter? We never spoke about that. Doing good at the Bufo Sanctuary in Tulum. Doing Bufo tomorrow morning. Congratulations, Brendan. Enjoy. User 7115 says Jesus. I'm assuming you're talking about me. Resemblance is purely coincidental. Eden in the house, baby. Yeah, Jules, how are you, brother? Jules is a close friend and an incredible singer. You guys should check him out. Gali J on TikTok. GALLI J. GALLI and then J separate on TikTok. He's by far one of my favorite singers, and not just because he's my friend, because it truly is phenomenal. Doing 5 tomorrow too? I mean, I can. See you there. No, not doing 5 tomorrow necessarily, but you did. So how did it go when you did it by yourself and explore deeper? For test, yeah, that would be cool. I highly doubt it's gonna work, just because a lot of people in the world are doing it. But who knows? Yeah, tomorrow I don't think I'm gonna have enough time to do that, but I'm gonna be running some tests very soon for sure. Here's a country. Got it. Okay. Yeah, we discovered that the 5-MeO, actually, you can see the code even clearer in the laser, which is very surprising to everybody. Truly weird, but it is true. Somehow it is the case. What up, Bert? Or, sorry, Bart. So, like I said, I today many trains of thought all at once. Master of none. Jack of all trains of thought. Master of none. But very often So I want to find a new direction to how these lives go, just because like I said yesterday, I feel like everything that was expressed, at least on the topic of the laser and the simulation and everything that has to do with that project, until we find new findings and have new breakthroughs. But I do want to utilize our momentum to maybe talk about things that things that people care about. So maybe we can try and pivot slightly, not necessarily in any too different of a direction, but maybe we can talk a bit more about the human component of this whole conundrum of existential questions. So, what are we? What does it mean for us to be in this moment in history? And maybe we can even dive into a little bit, just generally, what is good and how we want to be in this world. Obviously, there's a lot of answers on offer to these kinds of questions. You have the Christian answer, you have the Buddhist answer, you have just general ways of life that are more conducive to happiness. But maybe we can explore together through these conversations and see if people maybe are dealing with particular things that maybe they want to raise or bring up or talk about or share or ask a question about. And together we can explore what kind of ideas, states of mind, states of being we should explore together to help each other to be better in this world. It sounds to me like a pretty good use of our time. And of course, we're still going to be, it's still going to be sprinkled with stuff about aliens and lasers and everything else. Carter is saying lots of adjacent topics to cover. True. Thank you, Guru, for the reminder. I am convinced that for us to go further, we must learn to become better aligned to care and curiosity. Couldn't agree more. So there you have it, folks. I think we solved it. Hold on. Who would have thought that long hair can be a nuisance? It's just crazy. What up, Carmelo? So good to see you, brother. So yeah, so if you guys, so first of all, if anybody has any topic or just kind of conversation they want to start in this direction, I would welcome it. And I'm sure we're definitely going to have some more takers as time goes by. Or if you have any questions about personal interactions, yesterday we had pretty great questions about how to be more balanced in a world that seems to be going nuts. I like that question. That is a real question. So let's see if we can maybe tackle questions of this flavor and help each other. What up, Renee? Good to see you. This Ways Up is saying, Lavi, because the camera sucks at inhaling. Nice. Because, wait, what did Lavi say before? I'm new to this channel. Why it's not possible to capture it on camera? So in that case, the answer you got from This Ways Up is pretty accurate, to be quite honest. Yeah, I mean, it seems that the altered state part of it does something for your ability to see it. We don't know what it is, though. So that's an open question. And we don't know, though, so we actually working on this problem. Something that we would love to be able to answer at some point. There were some ideas in the last week that came up that had to do with thinking about what is actually happening to the eye and the retina and the cells in the retina and maybe even the microtubules in the retina, but not necessarily just in the brain. Like, well, what is actually happening to the eye? But that's a question that, again, needs to be investigated seriously. So that's a good question. We don't really know. That's the short answer. Hair would be quite nice to have. Funny. No camera sensor is natively designed to capture coherent content in a diffracted light array. Well, also a thought. I honestly don't know. So Carter obviously is my partner, and he knows quite a bit about this whole topic. My position is that I don't think we know. Well, we have a lot of ideas. We have a lot of maybes. In this upcoming months and next year, I think the goal would be to move closer to things that are more certain, things we can actually probe and test and check. Ghost is saying something. I'm excited. No cameras. Yeah, right. How was your week, by the way? Super rare that you're on TikTok Live. Kishan said, "How are you?" No, I'm not. I'm not that. It's not that rare. I'm here almost every night. Now I haven't been going on in a week plus just because of a lot of travel. But usually I'm here. Like finding a legendary Pokemon. Well, I appreciate that. I wish more people on TikTok would think that because our lives on TikTok are just like definitely not trending. Like we're not a big hit on TikTok. It needs to be more action packed. There needs to be more explosions or a theme or a costume, or I have to make things like this, and then we're gonna get an audience from TikTok. So you got to be a lot more towards the entertainment direction. Getting ready to travel to Vegas. Speaking on at Monday. Money 2020, and hanging out with Paul. That's amazing. That is grazing. A grazing? Grazing should be a word. Regardless, I appreciate the conversation. You've started very interesting. I appreciate you, brother. If you have any particular question today, we're talking more about the human component. If you have any questions or topics that you would like to raise, feel free to do so. And if you guys want to follow on Twitch and help the Twitch channel grow, it will be LaserX83. LaserX83 on Twitch. And it'll be extremely helpful. Yeah, so today we're talking more in the direction of the human experience, what it means to be better humans for ourselves, for one another. What kind of humans do we want to share the world with in the future? Thank you, Guru. I appreciate you. Human first. That's my mini campaign that we call Human First. Before political affiliations, before any ideas you might have about anything, you should treat everybody as humans first. And human first, by the way, again, I always feel obliged to clarify. It does not mean that it means humans before animals or anything like this. It just means that we should treat everybody as humans first. And by the way, I would include animals in this and the biosphere. Just knowing what's correct before any opinion about anything. And if you guys want to, there's a shameless plug. We have some merch on YouTube on Dango Thoughts, DANGO Thoughts, that reflects this campaign. It has human first design on it, and I think it's a pretty fun design, and it's by Core of Reality officially, and those are cool items. So if you guys want to grab yourselves a mug or a shirt or whatever it is, or a sweatshirt, winter's coming. You want to be cozy as a human first, please do so. It will help the channel. And we're going to keep talking about this idea to promote this way of life. Thank you, Project Veilbreak. Dubstep Kid. I haven't seen it in a while. It's been a while, yeah. I've been on an adventure. I'm a trucker now. Dope. But it's been a few months. How's research going? Has the documentary come out yet? First of all, good to have you back. And no, the documentary didn't come out yet. It will come out closer to the end of the year, I would say. Thank you, Carter. The research is going well. We're definitely making some progress. It seems. Oh, Amanda's in the house. Wow, I haven't seen you in forever. Amanda loves cakes. Best handle. And my wife really loves it. And yeah, so there's definitely some progress. You can check out the videos, especially on Instagram. There was a lot of kind of reporting on it. We did some brain scans. We did extended state, intravenous, 5 hours full immersion, 4 hours and 50 minutes, 466, something like that, or 68 milligrams. Hello, I love wives. What a coincidence! Oh my god, it's a simulation. There we go. Well, great to have you, Amanda. Yeah, the documentary is definitely going to be bomb. Aaron created a new teaser that we're going to be dropping soon. It's insane. You guys are going to truly like Aaron Vanden, everybody. He's just a master of his craft. It's unbelievable. I'm so excited about what he's creating. Sometimes I'm looking at what he creates and I'm like, dude, I forget that I'm even in this thing. It's so great. Coachella right now. Wait, Coachella is happening right now? Heading into LA tonight. Dude, I'm so out of touch. Coachella is right now? Is that what's going on? Great dubstep. I think it's technically never not happening. That's hilarious. Is that true? Coachella is a city. Got it. Okay. I thought you were like at Coachella. I'm like, oh. It's the alcohol driven Burning Man, basically. Butterflies and bubbles. That's what I like. All right. So I think I see that people don't really have too many questions about the human condition. Oh wait, I think we had something here. Yeah, Ghost is saying something. I'm about to get autistic here. Dude, you should just jump on and talk. Come on. I'm about to get autistic here, but I have an intuitive sense that goodness or virtue and an eye for what is right is both innate as creation or form, expresses source intelligence, and also evolves towards peak manifestation of the full potential of the source intelligence. In other words, we have an innate sense for what is right and wrong, and under the right circumstances, we come together and figure things out. But under the wrong circumstances, it can also go very wrong, as evidenced by what's happening in the world today. Yeah, I would agree with this observation. Amanda has jokes, but I'm here for the conversation. Well, I got it. Yeah, no, and it wasn't very funny. Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm actually going to send you an invite just in case you want to come on and chat. I think it's always, you don't have to, but I'm just going to send that invite just in case. So, yeah, I would agree with that. I think, see, I'm not really sure why it's complicated. We spoke about it the other day, so it might sound a little repetitive, but I think it's worth repeating. The whole idea that there's objective right and wrong, and I think the word objective really rubs people the wrong way. But I think if you just maybe we define our terms, so there's just truth claims. And what truth claims mean, they don't mean that somebody's claim to them is the correct version. It just simply means that there is a truth to the matter. That's it. There's truth to the matter. So humans are built a certain way. Humans feel pain from particular things and less pain from others and joy from others. And some people are different, but most people are not. Most people are pretty much like, or there's a range within which we should all expect that most people would not enjoy that process, whatever it is. Tortured would be one of them, right? So, in the end of the day, there are truths to be known, even if there's degrees of these truths that are just the general direction of whatever that situation is. There's an up and a down to a mountain, even though there's many ways to climb the mountain. There's many sides from which you can climb the mountain. But nevertheless, there's a big difference between climbing the mountain and descending the mountain. Those are two different things, right? And that has to do with the fact of what a mountain is. A mountain is a raised ground, a protrusion on Earth that is caused by geological events. And up and down are the directions we define away and towards a center of mass. Okay, if you want to get super technical. So, I don't know what this is, but this is not what we're doing here. So, see you later. And so these are just facts, right? So like it's not so much that somebody needs to claim that they have it and others don't, is that there's just the truth about whatever it is, and it has to do with just what the circumstances are. Under that, it's pretty clear that there's right and wrong answers to what is the best step forward, and then everything recedes from there. It doesn't mean you will ever find the best step forward, but you're going to find a gradation of that. You're going to find some general direction of up and some general direction of down from the moment that you're in, as it relates to optimizing for well-being of as many creatures as possible in that particular region of space and time. It sounds like a mouthful to say all of that, but it seems like it's necessary to even convince people that there's such a thing as right and wrong when it comes to, again, this is not to claim that somebody who states this necessarily has the understanding of what is better or worse. It's just to acknowledge that there is better or worse. That's all. And I don't know why people have such a hard time with this. People have such a hard time with just acknowledging this. Kashan is saying, as long as people identify as what makes them different, we'll have the illusion of separation. Yeah, but the truth is that I don't even put a lot of stock in the idea of oneness. So it's true that there is some unified field that we all belong to, but I have nothing resting on the idea that we're all one. It's just not the kind of thing that I think should be doing the heavy lifting. If the only reason that you want to be good to everybody, I'm not saying you, obviously, but if the only reason that one postulates to be good to other people is because somewhere deep down you understand that you're all one, that's not the best reason to be good to others. You should just do that. It's actually, to me, it's much more enjoyable to meet somebody else where they're at, and that moment of communion, of connection, to me, is much more profound than the feeling of oneness. I'll be honest. So it doesn't mean this idea of oneness, it's there, and the experience of oneness is there, but the truth of it shouldn't be the main contributor to why we should be just better towards each other, towards the world. That's not the reason. What up, Empty Trail? We have individual souls, even though we are connected. Maybe, again, I don't really, I truly don't know, right? So, my position is that I don't know these things. I know I've experienced states where these things seem to be true, but I don't think that that's the reason we should be better. I think it just feels better to want the rest of everything to be better. I think it's just a given. It's kind of like asking, well, why do you suffer from that? Well, it's the direction. It's the mountain direction. It's like it's by the default of the experience of what you are. Some things feel good, other things don't feel good. It's kind of like the bottom floor of where you can ask the question. There's no question required. Is if it feels bad, it's bad. If it feels good, it's good. It's that simple. And then what proceeds over time and what persists over time, what is more sustainable, less sustainable, it's all part of the same question. If you say, okay, well, doing this one substance feels really great now, but tomorrow and for a whole week I'm going to feel terrible, Well, now it's just simple arithmetic. Like I'm going to feel good for 3 hours and I'm going to feel terrible for a week. Is that a good equation? No. So overall, if I can see the trajectory of that and foresee that happening, I'm going to vote no for that particular instance. But if there's something that simply makes everybody happier and there's no downside, usually it doesn't exist. But if that's the case and you can see the trajectory of that over time, well, you should definitely engage with whatever that is. There's no question about that. There should be no, deep qualm or question mark about, whether or not you should like, yeah, if you can for sure see that there's no downside and it's all upside, that's a simple vote of yes. Um, Carter is suggesting to reinvigorate the gene keys. Oh, maybe we should do that. Yeah, not today, but we'll definitely that might be a good idea. This way, as I was saying, then I posted about this on the Discord. Would love your opinion if you have one on the Everything Empty Always Alone channel. The guy claims to be an interdimensional time traveler. Yeah, see, I'm not. Wait. Oh, you're talking about somebody who you posted. Here's what I'm gonna do. Because I promised myself I'm gonna be a little bit more like now. One of the things I'm gonna be transitioning to, maybe talking, like focusing more on what people suggest and post. But I'll be honest with you. So let me look at where it is. It's would love to opinion if I have one. Everything empty. Wait. One on the Everything Empty Always Alone. Everything empty. Is that a channel we have? Is it in the general chat or what? I don't see a channel like that. If you can just tell me what chat is in. But I usually claims of that sort. I don't know why. My predisposition, it doesn't really interest me that much. So like even if I think it's just so clear to me that the chances of something like this to be true, they're basically zero. So now it doesn't mean that it's completely impossible, but it is so improbable as to, in order for me to look in that direction seriously, I would need somebody to just come and like show me, which is never going to happen because the reason that it's a YouTube video and he's not all over the news everywhere is because he's not. That's, at least to me, it's clear that that's what's going on, right? And, some people would hear me say this and say, well, how can you rule it out? I've lived long enough to know that there's no way that this is the case. But I love surprises. So, but if it would take a lot to it would not be like a YouTube video that will convince me of this. I'm pretty hard-headed when it comes to this kind of stuff. So I hope you don't get your hopes up because I'm definitely most likely just going to kind of say, yeah, of course, it's nonsense. But I'll watch it. Just tell me what channel it's on. Pretty skeptical person, but after watching him for almost a year, I'm inclined to believe him. The videos are pretty compelling. Same talk about being in the Matrix. Sure, I'll watch one video. I'll give you my opinion. There's almost no chance it's going to convince me, and not because I'm like it's just it's just the picture itself, right? If somebody is an actual time traveler, it's not going to be just a YouTube channel. Seems like it's going to be bigger than that. Empty Trail is saying, I think the truth of it makes you want to be better. In its absence, it can lead to nihilism. I can see the trajectory there, yeah. Obarki is saying yes, and resonance with others saying we're all in this together is very much a driver to be good. I agree with that. You want to feel like you're good as some values, so believing in oneness creates a sense of coherence. Not to me. So this is what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying that people should not, like, to me, the idea of oneness doesn't do any work whatsoever. I don't know why. It makes no emotional impact on me whatsoever. I simply don't care. Like even if we're like all one, I simply don't care about that. What I do care about is moment of communion. So like to me, the meeting the other actually through a boundary and then creating a communion together, that's the most beautiful thing I can imagine. That moves me emotionally. Does it mean that one is better than the other? No. It's just I know for a fact that at least in one instance, right here, the oneness does no work whatsoever to move me towards like feeling any better about it, even if it is true. So you know, I think to my mind, too much is made out of that. It's also kind of like, I mean, if you think about it logically, it is literally the most selfish reason you can think of if you want to be better because of that, versus actually caring about others, which is not selfish. So I don't know. Just logically, it's flawed for me, but also I'm aware that there's a unified feeling that feels like we're all part of the same story and part of the same trajectory towards a unified something. That is exciting that we're in it together. But notice, we as separates in it together. That's the thing that is exciting about that to me. And I'm fully aware that for a lot of people, maybe most people, the feeling of unity is the thing that drives them to this beautiful feeling of emergence and all of that, and they should keep following it. But then, we should also. I know I'm not the only one, by the way. I know other people that are like that, and we should also talk about the beauty of separation. And I don't think that the flip side of it is bleak at all. I find it extremely beautiful. Do I think Bashar is full of shit? No, I don't think so. Bashar, I spoke about it before. He he I was on his, like, I was obviously, I just simply don't care usually enough about this stuff. I'm very suspicious, not in like a conspiracy theory kind of suspicious. I'm more like just inclined to dismiss and not care that much when people talk about channeling, because it's like it seems so self-serving and so easy to fake. It's like so easy to fake. Oh, I'm going to close my eyes and talk. It's like, okay, I can do that. But after seeing one interview with him, and when he was asked point blank, you can probably find it, whether he thinks that Bashar is an actual like alien that is being channeled, because his name is Derek, right? Derek is his name. First of all, to say that sometimes you get like an imprint of a person. Yesterday we talked about discernment, and when I look at him as a person, he strikes me as a really positive guy. Like he strikes me as a very positive human, and he makes me feel good inside. So I have nothing bad to say about him as a person at all. Like he seems like an incredible human. But in addition to that, in this one interview, he was asked point blank. He was asked, "Do you think Bashar is real? Like you're actually channeling somebody?" And his answer surprised me. I didn't expect him to answer that. He said, "I don't know." He said, "I don't know." I was like, "Huh." But he said, it doesn't really matter to me as much as I know we did brain scans and we followed up with people over decades of me doing this. And I can tell you for a fact that after doing my workshops and following through, people got better by self-reporting and by our brain scans of their states. And I said, okay, I can get behind this. This kind of honesty is rare in that space, but he exhibited it, and that got me on his side. What can flip me up is without oneness, it feels evolution is brutal. See, I don't see that. I think that, first of all, acknowledging the brutality of the world is important, because if you're going to pretend like the world is just rosy from the beginning, which it isn't, you're setting yourself up for failure, because you're setting yourself up for delusion. You see some of this now with people that are extra sensitive about things. They forget that actually sometimes, just because they don't find themselves in a situation in which they have to do things they don't want to do in order to defend themselves, other people do find themselves in that situation, and they judge people very easily that way, and it's very unfortunate. But they end up in a very delusional state. So now, but ultimately, I see this as a beautiful emergence. So you have a situation in which the default is brutal, but the more evolved beings become, physically, spiritually, technologically, altogether, they create better and better states of being for everybody. And that's the beauty of being custodians of knowledge. I see this as a very positive element of the universe. It's interesting to observe how for certain people, an idea means one thing, and for other people, the same idea means the absolute opposite. So, like, it never occurred to me, like, it never makes me think. Separation never makes me think that it means that everything is meaningless. That's not what it means to me. It means that the connectivity that is slowly emerging between individuals is the beauty of emergence. That's where it is. And I think acknowledging what things really are is the most important thing, because ultimately the truth will set you free. I believe that completely. Have you heard about quantum information panpsychism by Federico Fagin? Yes, I truly don't find anything novel there. These ideas are very old. I do think that it definitely did a lot of heavy lifting in terms of bringing this more in public awareness and doing more technical work around it. But I don't think that he's bringing anything novel to the picture. These ideas are basically rest on idealism. But one thing I guess I can say that he is bringing that is novel is the fact that he had these very real awakening experiences, and he, as someone who is a respected business person and a scientist, has a lot more to lose by talking about these things than, or at least in the beginning he had, and he still held his ground, talked about it openly, made it more publicly acceptable. That is truly groundbreaking and amazing. But in terms of what he's saying, all these interviews and basically kind of like titled, I figured out, the fundamentals of everything. Definitely that's not the case. Not him, not Tom Campbell, neither of them, and no other person who makes these claims figured out the whole picture. That's and by the way, the reason I'm saying it so easily is, first of all, well, I read some of these books and I watched a lot of these interviews, and there's always, first of all, in every single case, you always have the either, I call it either the jump or the swap. Always look for that. There's always the jump or the swap in a book, in a podcast. Whenever there's a claim about the ultimate, whatever it is, there's always a jump or a swap. And the jump means that there's a logic, and then very briefly, very quickly, just like it jumps to something else that doesn't really follow from this thing, and then just proceeds as if nothing happened. That's the jump. And then whenever invariably it happens, I can tell you, oh, here's the jump, here it is. Or the swap, which is that they swap what we're actually talking about. Right. An example of that would be a simple example that people would say, well, I guess you can say it when people say people's, when they feel love is just a surge of these particular chemicals in your body. That's a swap. Well, no, it's not, because we're talking about the experience itself. Or when people say consciousness is an illusion, consciousness is the one thing that can't possibly be an illusion. Okay, because the only thing, the definition of what consciousness is, it talks about that moment in which there is experience. So if you're saying it's an illusion, it means it's based on some other fundamentals that are not that thing. But what consciousness is the fact of experience. It doesn't matter how it came about. So it doesn't matter if behind it there's something else that isn't it. Which, by the way, I have no idea how you even begin to start rationalizing that, but let's, for the sake of argument, say that. What is being discussed is the moment of experience, not how it came to be. To say that it's an illusion, what you're trying to swap it with this other thing that is not being discussed. We're discussing the moment of experience. It doesn't matter how it comes about. It doesn't matter if it was, a million tricks were done to make that thing happen. But the second that thing happened, that thing is what we call consciousness. So it doesn't really matter how it came about. It's the fact that it's possible that is the conversation. So there's always these like little forms of swap or jump, and they're always present. But also, at least in my understanding of everything that's going on and what I've seen, is that the reason all of this is happening is because the highest civilization in existence has no idea why everything exists. They haven't figured it out. So let alone one of us currently, right? Maybe the average of everything that everybody everywhere ever said would amount to something that remotely will start resembling a question or an answer that relates to what, in fact, the whole picture. It's so far beyond comprehension for any individual. I don't even know why any one individual would think that they arrived at something like that. But also, again, these ideas are like, we're kind of regurgitating one another. It's at this point, there's really everything that was said is said, and now we're just kind of reformulating into something that is a little bit more functional. This is why my aim and interests are more around the things that are more functional, coherent, something we can do something with, because there's infinite number of ideas. Some of us are still in the explorator. We explore and then we execute. We explore and then we execute, and it's kind of like it's an ebb and flow of these two states. Currently, I'm trying to execute. I'm less exploring because I've explored enough into the horizon to such an extent that there's really nothing new that I haven't heard before. I can't even imagine an idea that's going to come in my lifetime in which I never thought of it or never heard it before. And I actually don't think it's that hard to get to at this point because everything is kind of available everywhere. The question now becomes, what do we do with it? How can we execute? How can we do something better with it? Let's do something with it versus just formulating forever into infinity. I think there's a collective consciousness. Thought can be accessed by people and it impacts the whole. Yeah, I would agree with that. What do you think we should do? I think we should have more conversations around that, which is what should we do next together? Like what feels good? To me, it feels really good to think about the future in space. For others, it doesn't feel as good. That's fine. Others really care about what our home planet will look like in 100 years. I think it's a novel thing to focus on, and I'm very happy that some people really want to do that. I'm very happy that that's the case. It doesn't make me feel like any negative emotions just because it's not the thing that makes me excited. I'm excited that they're excited about it because somebody would have to stay here. And whenever people who really want to explore out there and want to go to the galaxies, if we ever come back, we want to come back to something beautiful. So I'm super happy that somebody would want to stay here and tend to home and grow the most beautiful gardens. Those are not mutually exclusive. So one thing I can certainly say that I think we should do is have more of these conversations and ask one another, hey, what do you care about? Here's what I care about. Oh, I never thought about that. That's interesting. Maybe I should care about that too. That sounds really fun. I never thought about that. That it should be more of that, or more of that again, maybe. Create a better world is definitely it, but the issue with just saying that is like, okay, how, and what constitutes a better world for you? Same time, individual points of consciousness, that confusing. How do we define better? According to what we know about the conscious creatures that can experience this better. So I know that there's circumstances that, according to everything we know about humans, a lot of the humans will experience them as better. And the same amount of people would experience other things as worse. There's truths there, right? There's a happy middle somewhere for everything. There's a balance, and there is a truth about where that balance is. For example, there's plenty of research on where people, when you ask them about their well-being and how there is a measurement to happiness, because it's a general outline of how people feel day to day, like they wake up, how they feel from the morning till the evening, the average of that, right? And there's ways to run these psychological tests. And what they found is that there's there's a happy middle. Like if people are too poor, like as far as money, they're definitely not as happy as people who make more money. Definitely not. And you can say money doesn't buy happiness. Well, a certain amount of money does, because money represents safety. It's not the money, it's the fact that you know that you have a certain safety, that you feel you don't have to worry about when the next meal is going to come from. That doesn't feel good, right? But what they also discovered is that there's a margin in the middle where people become happier when they make that amount of money, and then when they go over a certain amount of money, again people become miserable. So there's a happy middle, and that's probably because most chances because when you have a lot of money now, you feel like you need to protect, you need to silo yourself, you need to separate yourself from other people, from family members, because everybody always wants something from you, and you feel like you need to separate yourself from people, and that probably doesn't feel that great because you feel less part of a community and more just by yourself. And yes, you can buy nicer toys and do all the things, but you ultimately, the human connection takes a there's a toll there. There's something that's being subtracted that is important for why is it better or worse? Well, because what humans are, they're the kind of creature that their connection to a community generally makes them feel better. That's just a truth about humans. So that's how you define better, according to the parameters at play. Um, Let me read some of these comments. I had a very long discussion with myself about whether or not there's right or wrong. And I kind of came to the determination that at the very least, there's something that is considered wrong. No. Again, if you define, here's the definition of truth. Ready? It's whatever is going on. That's it. That's it. It's people. It seems to me at this point that people almost and it boggles my mind. But it seems that for some people, it's impossible to distinguish between the statement, there is a truth to the matter, and the statement, we will ever know it. Those are two separate things. You can acknowledge, there you go. You can acknowledge there's a truth to the matter. Something is going on the way it does. That's the truth. It doesn't matter if it flips on a dime a trillion times a second and it's actually standing on pink elephants. No matter how crazy or weird it is, that's the truth. Will you ever know it? No. Nobody will ever know the ultimate truth. That's not a possibility as long as you're part of existence by definition. But there is such a thing. So, and then there's just gradation. There's a horizon to which to the distance to which you can see certain things, and beyond it you can't, because of the limitations of your senses, the limitation of your cognition, many things. So the horizon of relevance always is, what can you do to make things more sustainable, better, safer, for more and more and more things that exist in that space that can experience things. And if everything experiences things, then all the more the reason to do that. But of course, there's a right and wrong. There's just either it is the thing that is happening or it isn't the thing that is happening. The idea that somebody's perception is the thing that dictates what that is absurd. It's absurd. You have a version of what's going on, but that doesn't mean that there's not also the truth about what's going on. And by the way, philosophers would push back here, but I think they would do it wrongly because they're just trying to be as sophisticated as possible. But there's no need for this acrobatics, because what philosophers would say, yeah, but how would you ever be able to know if the thing that you're not perceiving isn't exactly what it's not the point. The point is that even if the thing that is there to some degree is co-created by your own perception, which I'm very open to, that would be part of the truth. Part of the truth would be that your engagement with projecting what it is part of what it is in the ultimate scheme of things. That's part of the truth. That's the only thing that we're saying here. And then beyond a certain point of relevance to what is actually happening, in your environment, in your time that you're here, that's just become kind of like a mental masturbation. Like, it's just, it doesn't matter. Like, it makes no difference. Like, we can talk about it in terms of, in philosophical terms, but it doesn't actually do anything. Does it make you a better person? Does it create something that we can utilize for bettering whatever it is, right? It should always move towards this space of being better, feeling better. Trying to read through the comments as fast as I can. By the way, if you guys want to follow on Twitch, it's LaserX83 on Twitch, LaserX83. And our Dango Thoughts on YouTube is the channel, DANGO Thoughts. Just going to remind you, there's also cool merch you can get of both Human First series and the Code of Reality Core series. There have been psychological tests done on babies as young as 6 months. This Ways Up is saying, only where they witness the puppet hurting another. And the babies universally respond negatively to the malicious puppet. There you go. How are you, Namikaze? Good to have you with us. It just means that bad or wrong is inherently true through observation or nature, but good is a little harder to prove so concretely. I think you're talking about like goodness. That's a difficult subject because I think that those are primal forces. What happened? I think we got stuck somehow. Let's see. I think TikTok might have taken a nosedive into live. We're not gonna go back there if it's. Let's see. Oh, there you go. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Well, we're back, I guess. Feel it created more empathy for more worldwide. Yes, I would agree. Could truth be perceptual and viewing from different angles can discern different truths? No. You can have your perception of the truth, but the truth is the truth. And this idea has been buried. There are many, many philosophical ideas, bad philosophical ideas. I prove good personally through being kind, and it seems to affect people well. So it's kind of like magic. There you go. Whoever wrote the original comment, it is very akin to Aristotelian ethics, I think. Maybe Google and see if it agrees. Yeah, in the end of the day, like I said, we're just kind of repeating ideas, obviously, and that's okay. Terry, how you doing, brother? Work right now with everything YouTube. Said I was just checking in to say hello. Love you, brother. So happy for you to go into another Vipassana retreat. See you, Dubstep. I need to find some humanitarian work since I quit my miserable job. I'm a free roaming spirit. That's amazing, brother. Vipassana, and see if you can just stay as a long-term participator. You can basically stay there and work on the premises and do help between the courses and then do courses after courses. Some people do this. It's kind of fun. Trial. This Ways Up is saying he's a trial attorney. UM law grad with honors. I'm no sucker. I think it's worth looking into. Well, I didn't say you're a sucker. I'm just saying, notice that everything I said is about me. I said that I know myself, and most chances that, you know, I would not imagine that a time traveler would just be on a YouTube channel. Like I said, I promised I will check it out. I promise. But I'm just managing expectations. That's all. I never said you're a sucker, nor was I implying that. Gateway tapes are real. I can tell you that I tried them. Definitely something is happening there. What would you say you disagree about Tom Campbell's theory? Like, does he do the jump? Oh, yeah, of course. Absolutely. Yeah. He just arbitrarily chooses love as the thing. The funny thing is that I agree with him, but in terms, if he's presenting it as a theory of everything, as he does, my big toe is my theory of everything. It would have to include a complete explanation, fully rational, without something that is expressed because of a very strong experience that he has, which is the case. The reason that he's putting love there, which I agree with. I agree with that. But as a theory, it doesn't hold because he's not providing that link. That link is missing. I don't know if he's realizing this, but he's basically smuggling it in because his conviction is complete. Because he is a very advanced human and he has these, like, I believe everything he's saying about developing these tools over lifetimes and then coming back to this lifetime to complete the job. I believe all of that. I think all of that is true, by the way. It's just that purely on the basis of a theory, it doesn't hold because he's not providing that link, or at least he's not grappling with it properly, in which is like that the thing that is, I think, is being constantly missed in the space of trying to come up with theories of everything is that if you is how a theory of everything should look like. And I can tell you a couple of things about what at least what my convictions are about that, which is, what up, Ellipsian? So good to see you. Which is that one of the criteria that a theory of everything must have, it would have to have it. Otherwise, it's not a theory of everything. It would have to encapsulate the explanation not just of the process, but of how the process then also allowed for the explanation to exist. It would have to contain itself in the explanation in a complete form, and it would have to describe a world that contains itself. It's literally, it would have to have the property of the snake that eats its tail, of the Ouroboros, which is, at least in the logical sense, it's an impossibility. It's an Escher's staircase, but in reality, because Escher's staircase is, of course, an illusion based on the fact that you're following the stairs. So when you're going in, if you're in any part of the stairs, it looks like it just keep going, but there is a jump in the drawing itself, right? There is a place where it's like this, but then if you just trace one place, then it looks like it continues. But if you're in the business of trying to come up with the explanation of everything, you would have to explain also how the whole thing brings itself into existence. And I call it the container problem, which it's, of course, it has many names, but the reason I call it the container problem is because it's a mimetic way of expressing it. It's a very succinct way of describing the problem. The reason I call it the container problem is because essentially everything I just said can be encapsulated in this conundrum. No matter what you're going to say about reality, no matter for how long, I can sit there quietly listen to you till the end of time. And when you're done talking, I'm simply going to say, but what is it in? And I broke your whole theory. So it doesn't matter how far, how long you're going to describe all these things. Ultimately, there's always the container problem. What is it in? And then people do a very interesting move when presented with this question, because I've had these conversations sometimes for hours, and people go, well, the question of what it's in doesn't even make sense because it's not in anything. It just is. I'm like, interesting. Well, if it just is, then that's your postulation. That is your postulation. Everything you just said was irrelevant because behind all of that was your conviction that it just is. So what was the point of even going on that route? Decide. Either you're in the business of actually trying to do that, which my contention is you can't. That's actually the conundrum of existence itself because it has the container problem. As long as you're within existence, you can't possibly know how it came to be. and it's but the truth is that I don't even think it matters that much. I think that ultimately it's fascinating to have these horizons to which we can see, and novelty, and I'm all for that. I like it, but there has to be an acknowledgement that that's not an actual thing you can attain in existence because of the container problem. The container doesn't necessarily mean in space. It doesn't have to be in space. Whatever parameters you want to throw at it, but there's a difference between it and not it, right? Otherwise, what are we talking about? There's a difference between something and nothing, right? So, if the thing you're talking about existence is a something, it's not a nothing. And by the way, all these tropes about like, well, it's everything and nothing at the same time, that's bullshit. Like that doesn't mean anything. And certainly the person who's expressing it doesn't understand what that means. They're just saying it to kind of wave it away. But if you're serious about answering the question, you don't get to do that. You don't get to make these moves. Otherwise, you're in the wrong game. But if you're in that game, you don't get to do that's an illegal move in that game. Because it's not answering anything, it's not saying anything. It's just a trope to kind of throw off the scent, but it doesn't mean anything. So you either grapple with it or don't even bother. That's my position. You either grapple with it seriously till whenever it is, probably till infinity, or don't bother, which was the Buddha's answer, by the way. Don't bother. Just be. Just don't worry about it. It's interesting when people start mixing those. People start going through awakenings, and then they get into like, well, I figured out equations and blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, the Buddha never cared about equations because it's not where it's at. It's about being, right? At least there's a clarity as to what is being attempted. But if you are in the business of talking about something seriously in terms of description and in terms of symbolic representation, like equations, things like this, you don't get to say, I channeled an equation. I don't know what that means, but it means something. No, that's not how equations work. Equations are language. You need to understand what they mean and what they track, and it's an expression of something. My friend Nico, that sometimes comes to the lives, he always says, like, it's really funny that people that say these things, they probably can't even write a linear equation. Because it's the most basic fundamental thing you need to understand before you even begin to talk about all these like complex things. So unless you're willing to admit that the container problem is real, you're not actually grappling with the questions of everything. And it would have to contain the experience of things too. So that's another kind of thing, because you're gonna have to combine the explanation with the fact of experience within it, and how the ultimate experience is expressed in terms of everything, and how everything is expressed in terms of that experience. Like, it has to be fully self-contained. So it seems to me that this is a very long, roundabout answer to your question about Tom Campbell. But even though I agree with Tom about almost every single thing, aside from one thing where I think he's just arbitrarily making a weird choice there, because he famously says that he thinks that really in our simulation, only the Earth is simulated and the rest is just kind of backdrop. I think that's just like, what? It's like, this is an arbitrary choice of just like talking about just, why would that be the case? And especially because everything else is offering is so far out, I don't know why he would all of a sudden offer this like arbitrary limitation, which seems to me just like, I don't even know where it comes from. But aside from that, I basically agree with every single thing he says, and yet he's simply not doing the thing, to my mind, is not doing the thing he thinks he's doing. He's not giving you a theory of everything. He's giving you his account of what he thinks is going on. But he's not offering a physical theory, because he keeps resting on this idea that he's a physicist. Well, either don't mention that. I mean, obviously he's doing it for credence, right? But either don't mention that, or if you're mentioning it in the context of the theory, okay, then come up with a physics theory. And this isn't that, something that I'm actually going to read it to you shortly. Something that Andres Gomez recently posted on X, and I reposted because I think it's exactly right. And I want you guys to like think about this for a second, to grapple with this for a second. What he said is, and you guys can look him up on X is Captain Pleasure Andres Gomez Emelson. He's a brilliant, brilliant guy, mathematician, also studies consciousness. This is what he wrote. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. If you're serious about understanding reality deeply, and I mean deeply, some people will think you're crazy, that you've lost the plot, that you've lost it, you're lost in outer space, that you've broken your access to consensus reality, etc., etc. But listen to a string theorist speak. The average person doesn't understand 1% of what they say and project their own misconceptions, half baked ideas, prejudices, and unexamined assumptions onto the things that theorist is saying. This is worth lingering on. Again, when most people listen to a string theorist, they don't understand 1% of what they say. They just project their own misconceptions, half baked ideas, prejudices, and unexamined assumptions onto the things the string theorist is saying. Yes, the string theorist makes sense. The framework is internally consistent, but mental data structures to communicate it are missing from the cultural mimetic soup. So in our ideas of culture that exist in most of culture. Within the minimal set of data structures to span the actual theory, you don't even see the theory. You see your own projections. Same with consciousness and reality. If you're serious about understanding reality, you can indeed have peers, epistemic, academic, intellectual peers, but can you do it without many people thinking you've lost your marbles? Not a chance. But the central paragraph is key here, that most people don't even see the theory. They just see their own projections onto the theory, and they don't even understand the amount of work required to even start to understand what is being even expressed in the theory. And this comes down to theories like Tom Campbell's, because he wrote books for regular people, but he doesn't actually capture the deepest essence of what he's actually saying. And I'm not pretending, I'm not a physicist, right? I'm not saying that I have some kind of a higher accolade than Tom, both in life's experience, spiritually more advanced, and chasms of difference. He is more knowledgeable than I am in physics, right? On all three accounts, he is way more advanced spiritually, knowledge based, and just life's experience is a lot older than myself. I have tremendous respect for this. There's one thing, however, that I've been doing since I was a fetus, as far as I can recall myself as a person, and I've been doing this because it's what my brain does all the time. I'm always asking that question: what is that is at the edge of existence? It's like I was designed to ask that question. I don't know why that is. It's just what my brain does. That place I know really well. So because of that, I'm really good at noticing when people make that little, because I know it's not the right move there, right? And on the basis of that is that I'm making my claims. And I'm sure one day I will talk to Tom again, just like with Bashar, with Derek, or Daryl, not Derek. His name is Daryl, but just with Tom Campbell. Once again, there's a case here of an incredible human being. There's no question about that for me. Right now, we're talking about the ideas themselves. As far as I can tell, these ideas are there's a jump. And one day when I'll talk to him, I'm sure I'll bring it up in the nicest way I possibly can. But I think he's not doing the thing he thinks he's doing. And that's my position. Thanks, Empty Trail. Yeah, I did the gateway tapes. Definitely works. There's some interesting things there. I will not deny this. Iron Fist. Is there a good psychedelic way to find out what's up with 3i Atlas? Or are there trustworthy remote viewers to tell us? That I don't know. Sorry, it's outside of my wheelhouse. Namikaze. Apologize. Saw an article yesterday saying that the code is just suggested by you to everyone, and that's the only reason we see it. To him, I say, experiment yourself. Exactly. Also, it is some convincing powers that I have that I'm convinced the whole world, and you can't unconvince them. If it's just conviction, run it the other way. Have somebody else convince them that it's something else. You'll see that you cannot. You cannot do that because it is what it is. The balloons are probably part of the OS. What up, Carol? Okay. What up, Nakisa? This weighs up is saying, to be fair, I think you're maybe reducing a few thousand years of ongoing dialogue into caricature of a silver of the philosophy community. Gentle suggestion. I disagree with that. I think that the outline of these ideas is pretty clear, and the back and forth there's a decisive in structure that needs to be in it. And again, I'm putting forth what I'm saying with just as amount with the same amount of zeal that anybody in history who believed in their ideas, and time will tell. I definitely am not reducing it. I'm telling you what must be present. And you'll be surprised how much bad philosophy could be put to rest by asking simply the right kind of question. And that's a known thing in philosophy too, that sometimes people spend hundreds and sometimes thousands of years asking the wrong question. That's the nature of the human mind. And then all of a sudden, we ask the right question and we make all the progress in the world. I've actually never seen the Greys, not once. What up, Ellipsian? What is outside the Matrix? Sofas. You can be a king there, sofa king. Like with his "We are the brain" comments. We are not. We operate the brain from the same place outside the box. Not sure what that means exactly with nerd. If you can clarify. Same container question. Yeah, as long as you get to ask the question, that's part of reality. You can't say, "Oh, no, but this part is outside of reality." Then we don't mean the same thing by the word reality. When I'm saying reality is everything, potential, not anything that is, everything that is what I mean by reality. So as long as you get to talk about something, it's part of reality. That's the problem with the container problem, because then you're just kind of playing then it's a swap. You're swapping a portion of reality by claiming it's outside of reality. Is as long as you can talk about it and it has any causal effect on anything else in existence, it is part of reality. It's by definition. That's the problem. It's an ever receding horizon that you can never get behind. Because in order to know look at the whole thing, you have to be outside of existence itself. But then you become a thing that it is observing. So you become the new horizon of existence. And then you once again have to look back. It's like, wait, where is like that was the Buddha's insight, by the way, that you have to just stop doing that because it will always lead to that place. I'm not fully on board with that because I enjoy this ride. Maybe not on board yet. I don't know, but like that was the Buddha's point. That you ultimately that's the problem. You can never get at it. The thing you're trying to get, you can never get at it. It's not possible by definition. This weighs up saying, I mean, it sounds pretty hard to Gary to me. I don't see how that isn't part of philosophy dialogue. I mean, I have a philosophy degree. Cool. You should come on to Discord. Guru, can you drop the Discord link? You should come on and we can talk about it. You can come on and actually speak with words instead of typing with text limitation, and I'll let you talk and express your idea fully. Natural limitation over consciousness, understanding the universe. Absolutely. I mean, everybody can come on and talk. You can just find the Discord and then come on. There's a stage that is open right now. And Ghost, Ghost is on. I didn't even see that you were on. Awesome, brother. He also wrote, most philosophy problems are, in fact, linguistic problems. Wittgenstein basically said that. That's true. Do you have any comments on this, Ghost, by the way? I don't know if you're just listening or if he's probably just listening. But feel free to jump on if you have any.
Hello. No, I don't really have any comments at the moment. I think you've done an amazing job of just covering all the bases. Like you're clearly, very intelligent, very well educated, and like with lots of experience from different areas. So I'm just enjoying watching you cook.
Well, you're really good for my ego, man. Not good for my awakening, but great for my ego. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's the one thing I spend my whole life thinking about. So, if there's the one question about the boundary of existence itself, is the only thing I always thought about. So I know a thing or two about it. But this way is up. Truly, like that's not a false invitation. It's a real invitation. Just like you hear Ghost is talking right now, feel free to come on, and we always have like respectful conversations. So if you have, I'm not quite sure what your point. I think what your general point is that I'm basically reducing all philosophy's thought into some caricature version of itself. I don't think so. I think it does that for itself. So like it's not that there's no brilliant philosophers or ever were in history. Of course there were people that their intellect is just incomprehensible. There's no question about that. Wittgenstein is one of them. However, if you listen to Wittgenstein you probably need to do it for at least 2 or 3 hours of an audiobook or just read some of his stuff. You start realizing that he is in this modality of the bounce between what is the expressed and the thing that is being expressed. So, sorry, the thing that is being expressed and the way that is being expressed. So, like this constant conundrum between the symbolic and the thing itself. And then he creates these categories, separating them and then creating relationships between them. And which, by the way, is very similar to how my brain works. Like I really vibe with that. But the more I evolve in my own kind of like more of a like cognition ability, I realize there were channels of perception that were simply not available to him. And I know this because there's certain moves that he makes that are made very strongly as a fundamental baseline, which only happens when there's no access to conscious states beyond it. That's the only way that this makes sense, because he clearly was one of the greatest intellects of all times. So he could see it if it was there, but he had no access to it. And by the way, I'm very aware of that because I am also aware that there's other humans that have access that is more than mine. I know this because I for sure have had access to states of consciousness that he did not experience. But I know that others have that too, and I've never experienced them. So I'm very careful when I talk about this stuff to not overstep and always talking about how I view it, because there's, as far as I can tell, no matter what levels of consciousness the one thing that you can say kind of universally, no matter what states of consciousness you had access to, because even if you had access to the ultimate state of consciousness, if what you're postulating there is that you had access to the perception of the thing beyond perception itself, that itself becomes the infinite regress, because that is perception. So if you had perception beyond perception, that was perception, therefore it was not beyond perception. It just becomes, so this is why the logical framework breaks down. So then you say, well, maybe logic is the wrong tool to break it. Fair enough. Great. So how do we go about it? So I actually thought about this quite a bit. The only way that this can ever work, to my mind, is if you have a conscious moment that encapsulates both the descriptive part and the experiential truth of what it is at the same time. But because that whatever that is, that it's the thing beyond beyondness. I would say that is the ultimate thing. It's like talking about the philosopher's stone of God, right? That's like the ultimate, like below God's brains, like right. That moment, as far as I could, like the way that my brain wrapped itself around this moment, and I'm not saying that must be the case, but that's the only thing that made sense, is that instance, that instantiation of full perception of the fullness contains everything. And because of that, it must, by definition, contains all the opposites of itself. And if that's the case, it cancels itself out. It does not occur. So the second that happens, the second that God knows the whole thing, God and everything not only ceases to occur, to exist, it ceases to have ever been occurred. It retroactively cancels itself out in a way that it never happened. The whole thing never happened, even though everything happened. So at that point, you have to say, okay, hold on. What is the point of this? Right? Because aside from sounding kind of cool, and maybe this can be a cool plot to a movie or whatever, but like, what is it actually doing in the moment? Because this was to some degree, this was shown to me, and then the rest I kind of walked a little bit by myself, but a big chunk of it was shown to me. And what I took when I came back from this, and I don't know if this was the intention behind it, I felt like it was, because like they're perfect communicators, so it's hard for me to believe that they wouldn't know what the outcome of the communication would be. But what I took this to be is, okay, now that you know this, now what? What do you do with this? What? Okay. Live your life. Just live your life. And still play the games and do the fun, but don't make it so serious, because in the end, whatever bonkers answer there's at the end, if you're destined to experience it, you will. Don't jump the gun. And if it will never reach the moment where you will ever be part of that recognition, then what relevance does it have to your day to day? Aside from having a cool story or whatever, which isn't nothing, but it's definitely not the substance. It's definitely not how you treat your family and loved ones, and how people feel in your presence. And I would say the tapestry of whatever is unfolding into the infinite cares more about the potential that you're unfolding into, as designed by the clear trajectory of what you're doing in the moment, than anything else. In simpler terms, how you are now tells you what is the likelihood of you becoming something else later. And if what you are now, with all the things that, I'm not talking about you in particular, by the way, I'm talking hypothetical you, right? Anybody. If somebody's state of being is such that they're destined to be a jerk, even if they know everything, what was the point of that? Because if they're going to unfold into the ultimate jerk, who wants that? So knowing everything isn't where it's at. It's knowing and being able to fully experience it and also make something with it that is substantial. I think that's where it's at. And to me, that's not just like a sound good kind of, self-help kind of universal self-help kind of idea. It's more like that must be the thing that carries itself through to what eventually becomes part of, whatever divinity is, I guess. Or at least that's the way that I view the relevance of these ideas and how they connect us to something that can become better. Some of it made sense, I'm pretty sure. I wish I would have the time to to read all the other comments and the thing. You guys are welcome to come back tomorrow and share these ideas. Oh, wait. Sorry, hold on. We have some. I can't do this. I promise people. There we go. Legalasti wanted to come on. How are you?
Oh, hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So I don't actually have a terrible amount to contribute. I think my overall point was that you said some pretty sweeping generalizations about how all of philosophy is doesn't have anything to say about this.
That's not what I said. No, hold on.
I things that you're saying seem very familiar in like Heideggerian or Hegelian or even Sartre, like Being and Nothingness, supposed to the link. It resonated with that quite a bit. I don't know if you're familiar.
Yeah. So
parts of the dialogue, but I just wanted to throw in for philosophy and say, hey, don't throw that baby out with the bathwater.
I didn't say philosophy. Wait, can you hear me? I'm not sure if we're talking over each other. So I just want to correct it. I did not say that philosophy has nothing to say about this. And by the way, being Hegelian is not a bad. It's not an insult. but I think that what I'm actually saying about theories of everything, I didn't say that philosophy has nothing to say about this. The conversation is important. What I was saying is that when somebody claims to have a theory of everything, they need to exhibit particular parameters that, as far as I can tell, every single person till this day, and we can talk about examples, that made the claim, what I'm identifying there is that there's a confusion in them about what they're actually doing. My contention is that they're doing nothing of a sort. They're not offering a theory of everything. That's all I said about that. I wasn't disparaging philosophy. I'm not sure. And if it came across that way, then I want to make sure that that's not. It was clear that that's not what I was saying. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was just at one point you said, and then philosophers might reply with blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And they would be wrong because of this. And that.
But do you remember what I said? Hold on. But this is important. But hold on. But this is important. Do you remember what I said about that, though?
So that's all. It was really just trying to open the floor back up for people so that they didn't think philosophy was necessarily
I love philosophy, but do you understand that in philosophy, defining your terms and actually standing on a particular claim is everything, right? So, like, if you make a claim, right? So what you just said, right? I remember this moment vaguely, and I want to go back there because I'm very careful about how I use language and what I say. This moment was referring to. Let's see if we can backtrack it. When I said,
it seemed like you gave a statement about solipsism, basically.
About solipsism. Hold on, let me backtrack there. So I do remember saying this for sure. So I said basically that in this instance, philosophers would retort with, oh, yeah. I think it was, correct. Everybody correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was around the, when I was talking about the container problem, what I define as a container problem, and that philosophers tend to say, well, this part, like, for example, a good example of this is that people think of the Platonic space is outside of existence and yet influencing everything inside of existence. So that's an example of that. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is that, yes, and I stand on this point, philosophers wrongly would say, well, there is such a thing as a Platonic space and is outside of reality. And
Platonic philosophers would say that.
Sure. So I'm giving an example of where but every philosopher would always find that line for them, no matter what philosophy they're dealing with.
I don't know if Sartre would.
The one? Which one? Who?
Sartre?
Okay. What? Nothingness? Okay. So give me a recap real quick.
I honestly, I'm not qualified to. Read it.
Are you a philosopher?
I posted a link to it, and it just it resonated quite a bit with what you were saying. And I think where you're coming from with that. And
where did you post the link? Which one?
I posted a link. It just said "To Being and Nothingness" by Sartre.
No. What? In philosophy?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let me look at it real quick.
John Paul Sartre, Existentialism, Being and Nothingness.
Hold on. I just need to reject my memory because there's a lot of information. 1 second. So let me see. Philosophy.
I don't think people necessarily want to hear me. I don't really have anything important to say.
I want to hear you. I appreciate you coming on. I love when people come and push back. That's wonderful. So let me look real quick. Hold on. Philosophy. Why can't my eyes find philosophy right now? Oh, here it is, because it's grayed out for me for some reason. Okay, so it was a little further back, right?
I think so.
Let me see. Hold on. So it wasn't related to the conversation today. You just kind of posted it before. That's what you mean.
No. I'm sorry.
The what?
No, I'm sorry. It was today.
It was today. Okay. So are you sure it's in philosophy?
Oh no, I'm sorry. It's in the chat. I didn't realize you were talking about the Discord. No, it's just in the YouTube chat.
Oh, I can't see hyperlinks on YouTube chat.
Oh well, it's just Being and Nothingness by Sartre. If you just Google that, the
Being and Nothingness by Sartre. How do you spell Sartre?
Sartre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, hold on. Okay, here we go. So just in Google, it says humans, being in nothingness, humans are characterized by radical freedom, a quality arising from the concept of nothingness that allows consciousness to negate what is and imagine possibilities. Sartre distinguishes between being in itself, fixed inanimate things, and being for itself, conscious human, with the latter's freedom and responsibility leading anxiety and potential self-deception called bad faith. Our ability to separate ourselves from our existence allows for the creation of our own meaning and identity in a world without inherent purpose. So he, yeah. So
when he says separate us from our existence, he means imagining a future that is different than the one now.
Right, which is definitely the mother of the container problems. So yeah. So, but he is doing that. That's my point. So my point is that so okay. So because this goes to free will, which is the mother of the problem with container problems, the container problem. So what is being postulated by this freedom, because he is using the word free, right, is the only thing it can mean is freedom or semi-freedom from the state of affairs around itself. In other words, there's some magical box within which a choice is being made that is untethered by all the previous states that brought it to bear. Would you agree with that? That must be what that means in terms of his own definition?
I think so. I mean, I think you're just saying like consciousness is ability to act.
Right. So then what is being postulated here is equivalent to magic, like true magic.
No. Wait, what?
Okay. So if something, that is the definition of magic. So unless there's the difference between magic, like pure magic, the thing that people believe in, versus stage magic, which is an illusion, is that one has a clear cause and effect chain that is invisible to others that caused the effect to happen, which is stage magic. Right. In real magic, what is postulated is that there's some ability to influence reality indirectly by incantation, by request, by some invisible force that is not visible even for the one executing the task. They just kind of know the rules by which it happens, that can bring it to bear, but it's not really the thing that causes it. So it's almost like a truly mediumless effect that is happening. So like I go, but a bream, and then somebody appears somewhere. Okay, so what is?
I'm missing the where we jumped from talking about like seeing the present, imagining the future, and magic. If you
go right, because what we're talking about. So so see if you can follow me here, because that is a difficult one to outline. And to be super clear, I'm not trying to sound confusing. So if I am confusing, stop me immediately. Yeah.
I'm following.
So
I've been up for like 2 days, so I'm just trying to.
Whoa, why?
Because I'm a trial attorney and I had a big brief due today. And
amazing. Well, I'm honored, first of all, that you even taking the time to come on. That's a huge honor. So thank you. Okay, so what I mean by that is so the problem with usually with in this particular instance is describing the granularity of conscious moments. What I mean is that people usually notice a certain period of time and they call that their conscious moment. But if you start paying close enough attention, you sound well. Aside from your job, you sound like you're pretty well read and very educated. But have you also partaken in some, contemplative or meditative practices more than just like listening to an app?
Gateway tapes.
No, but I'm talking about like things more like structured. So like Vipassana, like really sitting for hours a day, like really getting to this level, like putting yourself on a chair 11 hours a day, like meditating in a structured.
Oh no, I mean I've had small children, etc. You know what I mean?
Of course, no. This is not.
No.
Of course.
I did live in China for a while. I did study at a Buddhist temple. I never made it more than a couple hours.
That's amazing. Okay, but that's enough. So you've done a couple of hours. Okay. So you would know that the second you start playing that game, what you start discovering is that the parsimonious nature of moments is a lot more granular than what people usually assume. So like you can actually you can dissect your own experience to much smaller moments than you even realized. And what I'm claiming is that when you start looking for where that instance of what we call a choice is, because what you're saying is that you choose to do this or you want to do that's the thing you feel yourself to be executing the task. When you start looking for where that happens, what usually happens is that people look at a particular moment and then something proceeds from that moment in a particular direction. They say, I chose to go to the theater versus going to, I don't know, to the store. Okay. But then if you actually look at the moment of where they think they quote unquote choice, what you discover is that they actually didn't look close enough. Because if they would discover, wait a second, the thing that I feel myself to be, the agent behind my ear, between my ears, behind my eyes, I didn't actually do anything. There's just I was kind of there, and then all of a sudden I was doing that, and then I had a story about it. So I kind of retroactively fitted a story as to why if somebody asked me, why did you make that choice? Well, I have a story. I'm like, well, I really wanted to see that movie, and I felt like I have enough salami in the fridge, so I didn't need to go. I have a story. But that's
St. Augustine had a deep struggle with this exact issue in free will.
Mm-hmm.
He nearly he was actually suicidal over it, which is pretty surprising for he's a saint in the what was it 1600s. He talks about it in his Confessions, and ultimately he decided that there was no resolution to it, and he had to merely pretend or he would die.
Right. So I'm actually leading in the other direction of that, right? Which is that when you trying to nail it down and you're putting all your bets on being able to do so, it actually might lead you to what you just described. But the Buddha's answer was the exact opposite of that. And when you said you lived in China and you did a little bit of meditation in temples, which again is super cool, was it under Buddhist Zen, or what kind of meditation was it?
It was in Yunnan province. It was I was in college.
Okay.
And
I'm just trying to connect to something that is very familiar to you. That's all. Okay.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. No. I'm not. Yeah. But I'm really trying to take it to something. Sure. No, but I'm trying. Yeah, that's what I mean with the magical leap. Exactly. There's no, and I think what it ultimately leads to is that, and this is that's why I asked you about the particular thing you were doing, because there are certain Buddhist Zen sects that have the practice. I'm sure you're probably familiar with. They just repeat for hours. In Dzogchen, it's very common, but also in some Buddhist sects that they repeat. There's no one here that all of this is happening to, and then they just keep repeating it. And then what happens at the end of this is that there's a bunch of practices like that. Some of them are indirect. So, for example, you raise your arm, and then you say arm is being raised, and then you lower your arm, and arm is being lowered. So you remove the I, you remove the subject from the equation, and you keep doing this. Eventually, first it's just a practice, but then the truth of the statement dawns on you, and you realize, oh wait, there's no one that all of this is happening to. There's actually no one. There's no one behind my eyes. There's just processes occurring. And that is the moment of liberation, because you realize, wait, there's just the process, right? So now and I think that ultimately the conundrum lies there. It's the fact it's not even an agent executing it. So then you go back to the very simple Big Bang question, and I'm only using Big Bang as a placeholder. Don't, it's just like the thing we know, right? The initial mover of the universe, whatever you believe actually happened there. So that in whatever proceeded from that moment on is the thing that determined the cascade of everything that happened after. And I'm not talking about determinism, by the way. Even if the execution of whatever is possible is scrambled a trillion times in a picosecond in every moment of existence, you still are left with the exact same problem. It's just magic. It just kind of happens. So my claim, I'm fully admitting that that's a very bold claim, and I'm not expecting anybody to just accept what I'm saying. But this is my claim, which what I saw is, and it's why I framed the container problem, is that what I saw is that the most advanced civilization in existence, so like the most advanced thing you can possibly imagine, they solved everything, but they can't solve this because it has this problem that you have this infinite regress, no matter in how many temporal or spatial dimensions you want to talk about. It doesn't matter. There is no ability for reality to perceive itself outside of itself. And then there's, you bring back the whole, like, is there an actual, like, something perceiving from that level, which would be literally a god. Ultimately, it's interesting to me because, and this is why, I don't know if you were, heard that part of the conversation, but when I came back from that experience of seeing that, what became clear to me is that they were basically saying, look, man, we get it. You really want to know. But listen, how about just enjoy your life? It's like, even if you know it, like even if we tell you everything we know right now, what good is it going to do in your life? What is it actually going to do that's going to make the next moment and the next moment after that worth having, worth living? Because if you're going to be miserable till the end of time because you knew it, do you really want to pay that price? There seem to have been like this balance scale there of knowledge versus being. And it seems to be insurmountable to reconcile them. It's almost like a choice that you have to make at the end of time. If you have a box at the end of time with the answer, will you open it? That kind of question, right? So then, and I think that ultimately where it always leads to, so the first of all, I deeply appreciate you coming. Truly, like I hope you will come more. This is very fun for me, and I thank you even that you're taking the time of it, not sleeping for 2 days. Yeah.
Thrilled to be here. I just,
yeah, please come more. I would love this. But ultimately, my whole position that I can clarify to you directly now is that if somebody puts a claim on the table, I'm going to hold them to it. So if we're talking about Tom Campbell, he makes very specific claims. The whole body of work is called My Theory of Everything, My Big Toe, My Big Theory of Everything. All I'm saying is it isn't. And here's the reason why it isn't. Right. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. And ultimately, like, I'm not pretending that I'm somehow even in the same league of some of the thinkers of the ages. That's, are you kidding me? These people were like inconceivably brilliant. But the point is that even inconceivably brilliant people can get bogged down by the wrong questions. And to some degree, when I talk, there is this attempt to maybe say something a little zesty to kind of get the juices going. But ultimately, my goal is to say something as accurate as I possibly can. So my whole thing is, I know what I know from my experiences. I'm always trying to stay open, always trying to remember that people for sure have access to both knowledge and states of mind and consciousness that I probably don't. And I'm very aware of that. So I'm always very careful with, how quickly I, follow any particular thread. But this particular question, to some degree, I know that I know a thing or two about it because it's what my mind is doing. If I don't have to do anything, which is rarely nowadays, but if I have to sit down on the couch for a second and relax, if I don't do actual work to quiet my mind and like close my eyes and pay attention to my breath and do some vipassana or whatever, the default of my brain is what's outside the universe. It's what it does. So it's just what it does. And because of that, I know the little ins and outs there, and I know the little holes of confusion that are very common. And I do see very brilliant people fall into those. If I have to talk about somebody modern that I think is as close to what I think is going on, personally, I think Bernardo Castro was pretty close to that. I think analytic idealism is pretty close, and the way specifically is how Bernardo analyzes it.
I mean, yeah, Marxism is quite a lot of roots in this.
Marxism?
Well. Yeah.
just be That's actually interesting. Wait, how does Marxism connect to this?
Okay, Marx was Marx as a critique of capitalism. And
got it.
Capitalism, it was primarily an existential dilemma about, people are inherently, what people are is the ability to impose ourselves on our environment, right? To manipulate, the word, man, underlying the man part of manipulate. We change our environment to mold to, what we imagine it to be in the future. And that's why he thought that having the means of production separated from the worker was so egregious, because it was like it was separating you from yourself. Like what you manifest in the world is you externalized, and that's why he thought it was so egregious to do that to people. I
see the connection now. Yeah, so I think for me, the way I view that is that's exactly why I think that our connection to our spiritual process is so important, because the way that I view spiritual progress is our ability to perceive more of what cognition itself has to offer in the universe. And to me, it doesn't matter if you're an idealist and you believe the consciousness is fundamental, or if you are a complete materialist and you think it's just an arising property of the mind. The case still remains that because we are here and we are capable of what we're doing, it is super important that we align ourselves with the kinds of trajectories that allow us to survive and collaborate over enormous periods of time, which requires a certain amount of trust and certain convergence of certain things. But also, I want us to be the kind of civilization that, as it grows in its technical sophistication, it also grows in its spiritual capability of wanting to bring more beautiful things into existence, because it can just as easily do the opposite. If we are just the kind of thing that just, quote unquote, imposes itself on the environment, and the assumption about us is that it is innate to us to be that, then we will always treat ourselves, well, I don't necessarily accept that that's the case, but then we would behave as if it is true, because ideas drive behavior, and we would behave as somebody who just imposes itself on the environment versus.
Well, that's what we do. I mean, that's the kind of the underpinning of existentialism is we extension ourselves into the world, and the things that we make in the world are extensions of ourselves, and we kind of go constantly between one thing to another, trying to find something to assuage our own loneliness. The fact that we never actually become something that we're trying to make. It's just an externalization.
I would agree with that.
Ultimately alone.
I would agree with all of that. The only thing I would add to that is that what we can also notice, which I think is irrefutably true, is that ultimately, again, no matter what our assumption about the fundamentals of the world are, whatever we are is also part of what the universe is doing. So why not be that thing that ornaments the universe with something beautiful? So the way that I see this, you can create, you can create technologies that are just functional, or you create things that are beautiful. Like even if we grow into the, into this thing, interplanetary and intergalactic or whatever, the kinds of things that we tend to entertain culturally are the structures that the environment sees and it's instantiated in it, right? So if we are the kind of thing that really enjoys beautiful tapestries, hanging gardens everywhere, an enormous amount of diversity in the animal kingdom and plant kingdom, we will aim towards making more and more beautiful things of that kind and allowing it to grow and understand their natural process. We would work with the tapestry of the rest of what kind of the universe is kind of aiming for, even if that even makes sense. And then we can create a galaxy that is truly remarkable and beautiful and just breathtaking, or it can kind of look like this like super, stinky technical thing that just kind of like just kind of evolves and just swallows things. And that
Yeah, I think that's why, like, a lot of some religions that come out of this kind of offset of philosophy, like the Shakers, for example, they thought that prayer was labor was the highest form of prayer. The Shaking Quakers.
Yeah, I mean,
because they also believed that reproduction was wrong, so they kind of died out.
That sounds pretty Gnostic. Is there a connection?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they were Quakers, but I think that the Quakers had some kind of influence from them. I don't know enough about religion to say definitively or not.
They just believe that we need to divorce ourselves from anything that has to do with existence itself, because it's an abomination. Which is like the ultimate container problem solved. Let's just divorce ourselves from the container. That's amazing. What is your? I see. Like, you don't have to say if you don't want to, but what is your name?
Penny.
Penny. Awesome, Penny.
Yeah.
Where you are in the country?
Michigan.
Oh, dope. Awesome. Well, listen. I really hope you're gonna come on more often. This would be great. We can talk about all kinds of things.
Yes, yeah, it's great. I'm listening to you almost every night. So.
Oh wow. Well, now I get a better step up the game now. Listening. All right, awesome. Sometimes I just kind of ramble and meander. Thank you so much for coming on. It really is a pleasure. Please come on more often. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Yep. All right, everybody. Penny, that was a fun one. Ghost, you were awesome as well. Thank you so much. Yeah, we need more of this, guys. Come in, push back. Let's have that conversation. It's amazing. Again, I can't really go through all these comments because I really got to jump off. But that was great. Thank you, Penny. Thank you, Ghost. Appreciate you guys. And thank you, everybody who were asking questions and engaging. If you guys want to follow me across platforms, it's Danny Goller on TikTok and Instagram. It's Goller Danny on X. It's LaserX83 on Twitch. And Dango Thoughts on YouTube. DANGO Thoughts on YouTube. If you sign up for my membership program on YouTube, it gives you early access to all my content. Access to my weekly lives for members only, one that happens usually every Sunday, in which we dive much deeper into topics. We watch videos. We're not as limited by what is out in the open. So please come and sign up with that. Thank you so much, Casey. I appreciate you, brother. And if you sign up from the second tier and up of the membership program, send me an email that is listed there, and I will send you an invite for a monthly Zoom call with me, which there's not a lot of people, so it's actually very, very private. It's a lot of fun. And come check out the merch store. It definitely helps the channel a lot. We have the merch of Human First line, which just means we should treat each other as humans before our political convictions and ideas about the world. And also the Core Code of Reality line that you can get, and it definitely helps the channel a lot. Whatever you order goes directly to the operation of the channel, and that's very helpful. To be super clear what that means, it's not a roundabout way of saying that I'm pocketing it. What it means is that I'm saving all of it. This all goes towards the building the channel, making it better, and things like this. So that definitely helps. And what else? Check out our Code of Reality website, where you have the protocol for the laser experiment, the lasers, and everything else. And please come join our Discord community, where you heard our wonderful people like Penny and Ghost coming to chat with us. The links to which you can find in the link tree in the description on TikTok and on YouTube. So hope you guys would join. Oh, check out my new channel on Spotify, 0 to 1 with Danny Goller, from Earthbound Minds to Cosmic Citizens. That's on Spotify, 0 to 1 with Danny Goller. And if you still want to donate to the film, we are in full swing in post-production. The film is going to be ready towards the end of the year. You guys are going to love it. The film is insane. Like, truly, like, I can't speak highly enough about the movie. Aaron Venden is a legend, the director. Chris Paris as well. He's our producer, and they've been doing work together with editing and bringing stuff in. It's just incredible. Joshua Fisher is our head cinematographer. Again, an incredible team. And David Carter, my partner in Code of Reality, who is always there, always supporting, always helping. Sterling Cooley, who's basically our brain data guy at this point. Thank you so much for the incredible work you're doing. And thank you so much for Kevin and Haley, who recently we went to do their extended state in Colorado. If you guys are interested, make sure you email me. I'll give you their details. They're amazing. I highly recommend it. What else? That's it. Oh, if you want to donate to the film, you can go find the trailer for the movie The Discovery on Dango Thoughts on YouTube. And in the description, you can find the GoFundMe page Any dollar helps because post-production is a big thing. We obviously have funding, but we still need more funding. So it's not going to go to waste, I promise. If you're a baller and you can donate over $1,000, you will be added to a group of people that can they will see the movie for the first time ever in the world. And if not, don't worry, you'll obviously see the film. But I thought it was pretty cool to mention. I think I covered it all. Guru, thank you so much, brother. Guru, our incredible moderator. Thank you so much, brother. You're always on it. You're always here. You're always helping. If you guys haven't liked the live yet, please do so now. The algorithms definitely like it. It's not a small thing. If you're here, please like it. No matter what platform you're on, I would really appreciate it. Doesn't matter if you're on X or if you're on YouTube or if you're on Twitch or if you're on TikTok. Please like the live. It helps tremendously. A raffle of what? I would love to do a raffle, but what are we raffling? Oh, humanitarian work. Let me think about that, actually. I might have some suggestions for you. That's it. I want to thank the audience for always engaging, always building these conversations together. Without you, this would not be possible. I really love this community and everything it represents. So thank you so much for all the audience members for always coming, showing up, old and new members. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you. Have a good night. See you tomorrow. Peace and love. Ciao. Have a good night, everybody.